Hey guys, it's Becky with Design Bundles, and I'm here today to talk to you about organizing your SVG files. Now, I know, hold your applause, all right? Talking about organizing SVGs is not very exciting. And I know, I'm sorry about that, but especially if you're a beginner, I cannot tell you how important it is. I have lost countless files to a lack of organization. So I'm here today to share with you an organizational journey. Well, maybe journey is a stretch, but still some really important tips and tricks as always. So let's go ahead and get started. Oh, by the way, this is good regardless of what cutting machine you use or what crafting style you use. We can use this for silhouette, cameo, SVG, sublimation, planning. I mean, the list just goes on and on. If you download files for it, we have the answer for you today.
All right, so who is ready to talk about organizing? Well, not me, but it is a very useful topic for us to go ahead and discuss. And this is perfect if you're just starting out because there is no better time or easier time to become organized. And I say that because if you're like me and you've purchased some files over here and maybe you created some over here and then you have another pile over here and these are free but they're just for personal use, it gets overwhelming, and it gets overwhelming trying to remember which you can use for which and which ones are covered under this license and that sort of thing. That doesn't mean that you can't have a collection of really awesome files, but it just means if you happen to be just starting out, I beg of you to develop a system now. Even if that system isn't perfect for you forever, that's okay. Just have something that you can go ahead and start now so that your organizing and your files are not complete chaos a year or two from now. Okay, I mean, trust me. Go ahead, ask me how I know. How do I know it's chaos? So when I started out with one file called Silhouette Files, and I saved all of my Silhouette files there. And I now have a lot of files in there. And the bad part is that I have not organized them in any fashion. And they're all studio files, which studio files are good, but what about all the SVG files that I've purchased or files that I've downloaded? Unless I have resaved those into a studio file, those are all buried somewhere in either my documents or my downloads, most likely my downloads, where I just pulled it out and used it that one time and moved on with my life. Okay, so don't be a Becky. What I'm showing you now is the beginning of my organization journey, and hopefully you are willing to join this journey with me. Now, what I have is I have my fonts, I have my mock-ups, I have printables. Now, printables can mean different things to different people. These printables in particular, I'm thinking more like stickers, planner pages, that sort of thing, okay? So you may choose a different name if that's something that interests you. Sublimation Files, SVG Files, and this one that says Ultimate Bundle, but that one is actually Sublimation Files. Okay, see how easy that was? So my proposal to you, now I have created this file inside of my documents, okay? So inside my documents, I have one file, and it is called Crafting Files. I double click on it, and this is meant to incorporate all of my crafting files, even my fonts. Now, you may be asking yourself, Becky, why are you backing up your fonts? Because they're installed on your computer. You don't have to organize those this way. But I have another tip to share with you, and I'm going to wrap this part up first, but that tip that I'm going to share with you is really awesome, and if you can go ahead and save your fonts here, it may save you a little bit of heartache later on down the road. Okay. Now, you may be asking, what do I do with these folders after the fact? All right, you've created them. They are there. That's a very good start. I'm going to start in my SVG files, and that will make sense in a minute. So my very first distinction is I want to determine what is commercial use and what is personal use, okay? Commercial use are going to be files that I have purchased or otherwise gained the ability to use these in a commercial manner. If you are unsure and you cannot trace back to where you obtained that file, put it in personal use. Okay, it's not worth the risk. You do not want to start using personal use files for commercial use unless you're sure and you have the documentation to back it up. Okay, now I'm really lucky, and the majority of my purchased files, my SVG files, came from design bundles. Okay, so what that means is that I'm covered under the design bundles license, and I can use these within their commercial use limitations, which are not many, might I add. Now, let me pause right there and say, different places where you purchase files from will have different terms and conditions, okay? So if you purchase files from a lot of different places, I mean, I get it. We all kind of start there, right? But it's not a bad idea, instead of going from commercial use straight to categories, why don't you go from commercial use to where you purchased it from? Or commercial use to a category and then where you purchased it from. Okay, I know it doesn't seem like a really big deal now, but it could be a big deal later. All right, I'm gonna get off that soapbox. So commercial use, and then I have all these categories, right? And like if I go into mandalas, then these are the SVG files that I have tucked into this particular folder. Okay, now I know what you're asking. What in the heck are we supposed to do with these names? Okay, first of all, if your name is not descriptive enough, I would advise changing it. And the reason I say that is because you have this search feature up here, and that will allow you, if I'm in SVG files, let's go all the way back. If I'm in crafting files and I search for mandala files, it will bring them up because that is where they're contained. Okay, if the file name does not contain enough descriptive characters or descriptive words, then the search feature will not help you as much. All right, so, but back to where we were originally going. I'm going to go to SVG files because I have created these categories in here. That's what I'm trying to say. I created these categories. And, you may constantly add new categories. That's okay. But when you're just starting off, these are some really good categories to start with. Back to school, baseball, beach, Christmas, crafting, fall, football. You can just think of all the different topics that you might. I started with making shirts for. Okay. So these are all different topics that I have made shirts for or would like to make shirts for. Okay. So that's where I started off. What I'm going to do so that I don't have to create these over and over and over, I'm going to select them all, and I'm going to right click and choose copy. Okay, so then if I come back to my crafting files, let's go into Sublimation Files. Now in Sublimation Files, other than these items that I've already dumped in commercial use because I was sorting them out, what I can do now is I can right click and I can paste. Now, why would you want to do that? Because then I don't have to recreate all of these files. And for me, that was really darn cool. Now, I do have a couple SVG files that I tucked away in here. Obviously, you want to start the copy and paste process before you start adding files. But I only got a few files in, so I felt like, you know what, I'll just go ahead and take care of it. All right, now let's talk about creating your own files, because especially if you're working with like sublimation files, and you may have things like gnomes or animals or whatever. So now remember, I'm on Windows 10, so if you're on a different system, this may be a little bit different for you, but the overall concept is the same. All right, so for example, this is a cheetah pumpkin. So I can just drag this into, where's my fall folder? There we go, and drop it. And you know what happens? That goes right over there into the fall folder, right? Okay, say I want to create a new folder. I need an animals folder because this is a leopard / cheetah print, right? So I can come up here to new folder, or I can just right click, click new, and open a new folder that way. I can type in animals, A-N-I-M-A-L-S. I also could put this under like a patterns category or prints. backgrounds. I mean, there's a lot of different things. So make sure that you use whatever works for you. This is your system. So you need to fully embrace this so that you can get the most benefit out of using this. Okay, so sublimation files are easy because I can double click on those and my computer is going to show me an icon. By the way, let's stop for a minute. If you do not see an icon or the icons are not large enough, when you're in this folder, go ahead and right click and hit view, and view will show you can have a list, you can have small icons, medium, you can have extra large icons, and that's even better. Okay, so that's really great about sublimation or really any type of PNG file. Okay, but I hear what you're not saying, that or I am a mind reader, either way, because you might be thinking, well, Becky, that isn't working for my SVG files. When I go to SVG files and I open back up that mandala file, guess what? Even if I switch over to icons, all I have are these internet symbols, right? Now, that is because the computer is registering that if you double click on these, they're going to open in your internet browser. All right, that has to do with the setting on your computer. That's not a big deal because usually, especially if you're in Silhouette or Cricut, when you go to File and Open, you're just gonna double click on it anyway. All right, and so being able to see the preview at that point in time is usually not a huge deal because you're going straight for the file that you need. But let's pause because we want to make this as easy as possible, and I mean like the easiest. Like, does not get any easier than this. All right. So what we're going to do, there is a way to make your SVG files so that you can see a preview inside of the folder. I'm going to right click and I'm actually going to go to Open With, and I want Choose Another App. Now I'm going to do Google Chrome and I'm going to check Always Use this app to open SVG files. Okay, now it did go ahead and open that on my computer. That's not what I need it to do. This is what I needed it to do here. I needed it to change my preview icon to be the Chrome HTML document. Okay, so I have Googled SVG Explorer Extension Chrome. All right, this third one is the one that pops up for me. It's SVG Explorer Extension, exactly. All right, I'm going to click on that. Okay, so this third one here, this is the one that I'm going to run. It is just simply the 64-bit version. All right, so if I click on that, it's going to download. I'm going to click on it here. Now remember to do your due diligence when you're installing programs and apps on your computer. I have a pretty good antivirus software, or at least I believe that I do. As a matter of fact, it's warning me to say, hey, this is an unknown publisher. For example, I'm going to go ahead and choose yes. If you are not comfortable with this, you do not have to do this. This is not mandatory to organize your files. This is just if you want to be able to view your SVG file thumbnails, okay? I've read about this option more than once, and it's an acceptable risk for me, but all I do is craft on this computer, so again, it's completely up to you. I'm going to go through with the installation. It was real quick and easy, just hit finish, and now if I click back over, there are my previews. Okay, so not only did I go in and switch these to viewable with Chrome, because that was a Chrome extension that we installed, but there we go. Okay, that is how I can preview my SVG files to know which one I'm opening up. And if I go into, let's see, if I go into Silhouette Studio and I go to Open, all right, let's go through the process. I need documents, crafting files, SVG files, commercial use, mandala. If I right click and do extra large icons, there we go. Now you don't have to do extra large. Extra large is just kind of nice. You can do large or medium and get more icons in your viewing area. Okay, so that's another really great feature that will hopefully help you organize and readily view the SVG files that you're collecting. Okay, one more thing that we're going to cover. You may be asking yourself, okay, after I download a file, how do I get that file from my downloads folder or wherever you designate your downloads to go to? How do I get my file from there to here? Okay, that is really easy. As a matter of fact, if you are very familiar with Windows 10, you don't even need me to tell you this, but if you're not familiar with Windows 10, that's okay. What we are looking at right now, these windows are called Explorers. If I open my toolbar down here, it's this little File Explorer. You can see I have 3 of them going. I don't really need all 3 of them, okay? But here are my 2. All right, say I already have one of them open. If I just click on it, all it's going to do is bring up that folder, right? But if I click on it and right-click on that folder, I can open a new File Explorer, and then I have 2. Okay, let's close that out. That gets confusing. So here are the 2 folders that I have. I've made them a size to where I can put them side by side, and this will be ultra helpful if you are going to hit the organization full time. All right, say you have some files, you're ready to go ahead and organize them now. That's fantastic. Go ahead and set these up so that you can see them side by side. Now I'm going to turn one to my downloads. I'm going to turn the other one to, let's go down to my documents, crafting files, and here are all my folders. Okay, now if I know I'm going to be working mainly on SVG files, I can go ahead and double click on that. And of course, the ones that I'm putting in there are from designbundles.net, so I can double click because I know they're going to be commercial use. Now, all I have to do is come down here. Let me see. I'm going to look for my zipped folders. Okay, because those are the ones that I need to move. As a matter of fact, here we go. Mandala Rhinestone. I'm going to double click. Now, you notice it comes with all these different, let's go and look at the icons. View, we'll do medium. You notice they come with all these different formats. All I need personally for myself is the Mandala Rhinestone SVG. So now see how it has this little chrome icon here. Remember, that is going to indicate our SVGs. So I'm going to hold this down, drag it over here, and I will drop it in with my other mandalas. Now, if I double click, guess what I have in here? There we go. That's the one that we just put in there. And that's how easy it is. Now, obviously, I say that it's easy because, you know, this is my system. This is what I developed and it works good for me. If it's too hard for you to break them down into this much detail, that's okay. Please don't be intimidated by this. This is supposed to be helpful and not hurtful, okay? Don't get overwhelmed. You can start small. Maybe just break them down into commercial use and personal use. That would really go a long, long way. Okay, you don't even have to have them automatically downloaded or automatically backed up, because design bundles and font bundles, they're going to keep your downloads on your account. All right, so, you know, I know I've just thrown out a lot of information. There are a lot of different things that you can do. So I don't want to overwhelm you, but if you can start doing this right off the bat, it will be super easy and it will become just second nature to you to start saving and collecting your SVG files in this manner. And like I said, if you're just starting out, it's going to be really easy to go ahead and take care of this now and then, you know, make it a pattern going forward. So before we go any further, let's talk about, remember I said that there was a perk to adding your fonts folder. That is because, and this is what I personally do, I've done this for several years and it has saved my rear more than one time. So if you have Windows, you may already be backing up your documents folder to your cloud. All right, what do they call it? What does Windows call it? Your OneDrive. Okay, now your OneDrive is free, and if that's what you want to use, that's completely fine. That part is up to you. However, I'm not saying that the OneDrive is not dependable. I am not dependent on the OneDrive, but this one right here, iDrive. I do not work for this company. I'm not affiliated for this company. As a matter of fact, I've heard much more people talk about Carbonite. I've never used them. I just happen to use the iDrive. It doesn't matter necessarily which service you use, as long as you've done a little bit of research and they're a dependable company, because if you're using them to back up your files, they need to be dependable. That is obviously the most important part. But with my iDrive, as long as my computer is connected to the internet, iDrive will come in each and every night and back up every single file that I have designated it to back up. So what that means is that I have it back up my documents. Inside of my documents is my crafting folder. So not only is it going to back up all of my SVG files, sublimation files, but as long as I have saved my fonts there also, it will automatically back up my fonts. All right, so let's talk about why you would want this to be backed up. You want your files to be backed up in the event that your computer breaks down. All right, it happens. I took my PC into a computer repair shop. All I needed was to replace the battery because it wasn't holding very much of a charge. And as a laptop, I needed to be portable. Next thing I knew, they had fried my computer. It was a done deal. All right, that was very sad. And they did recover my hard drive. But I had my iDrive service. I didn't need, because obviously I had a lot of files and it was going to take several thumb drives to back up all those files. But moral of the story, had they not been able to salvage my computer, I would have already had all my files here, and I was very thankful for that. Okay, so also there have been times when I have been traveling, okay, and I need to access a file that maybe I don't have on this laptop. Maybe I have a desktop and a laptop. That happens more times than not, and you think, oh, these files are not accessible on this computer because I have it saved on my other computer. Well, if your iDrive has done an automatic update, you can now access anything that it is automatically backed up. Okay, so those are two very good reasons to save your SVG files and your fonts in the way that I'm showing you to do. All right, if that doesn't convince you, I don't know. I don't have anything else to convince you. So anyway, so that was our little pause for that. Hopefully that was helpful. Let's go ahead and do the wrap up.
So, I mean, it wasn't too bad, right? I know, especially if you've been doing this for a while, it seems like a lot of work. And I'll be honest, it is. It's going to take me a long time before I really get all mine organized. I'm used to just dumping them, using them, try to find them later. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So, just know that design bundles and font bundles are there for you if you've been doing this for a little bit. And what I mean by that is that you can always come back and download your files again if you can't find them. So if, you're struggling on where you might have dumped those files, come back, download them again from your account, and that'll get you started on your own journey. Like I said, you really want to embrace this. Make those folders yours. So, all right, I'm going to let it go. But thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions, comments, if you have any tricks on what works for you, then feel free to leave them below. I always come back and check in with you guys and, make sure you're doing okay. But make sure you subscribe, all right? Because we always have a lot of really great tutorials for you right around the corner. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.